This will be another example of the type of answer that we might expect when we solve by quadratic formula. Now recall that we have to have the formula, the equation, in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Didn't emphasize that in the last one, but it's going to be especially important in this one. Do we have this one in that form where we've got some number times x squared plus some x's plus a constant equals 0? Well, we don't. But we can rewrite this and put it in that form. And so we'll rewrite this by, we need this 20x's over here, we need the 4 over there. Let's subtract 20x, let's subtract 4 and get them off of this side. If we do that on the right, we have to do this exact same thing on the left. Subtract 20x, subtract 4. So we've done the same thing on both sides of the equation. I need to put the x squares first. I cannot add my 6x squared to my minus 20x's. They are not like terms. So I'll have 6x squared minus 20x. Also can't add that negative 4 with either one of these. It's not a like term. So he gets written out by himself. Equals, on this side, those canceled, so now we have that equal to 0. We do have an equation in this form now, and so we can use the quadratic formula again on the comp exam in Math 13-14. You'll have only the right-hand side written next to another equation, and you'll have to know that you use this when you're working a problem that says solve by quadratic formula. We need to start by finding a, b, and c. On this problem, our a is equal to 6, our b is equal to negative 20, and our c is equal to negative 4. So let's plug those in to the quadratic formula. Again, good idea to write it out. Get in the habit of doing that so that you can start memorizing that. It'll help you later on. So negative b, that's going to be negative 20 plus or minus the square root of negative 20 getting squared minus 4 times a, which is 6, times c, which is negative 4, all over, all the way there, 2 times 6. So now let's simplify this part. The negative becomes a positive 20. So that's equal to 20 plus or minus the square root. When you square a negative number, you end up with a positive. So that will become 20 squared, which is 400. Minus 4 times 6 will give us a negative 24 times a negative 4. So negative times negative makes this part turn positive. Be careful with the signs here. That's another place where people make mistakes. All over 2 times 6, which is 12. So that's going to end up being 20 plus or minus the square root of 496 divided by 12. At this point, we are needing to simplify the square root of 496. And so we need to, if we put that in our calculator to see if that's a perfect square, 496 is the perfect square, it's not. And so we're going to have to simplify that. Most of you probably learned how to use factor trees, so I'll show it that way on this one. In class, I'll be showing you a method that takes a lot less space. We'll use factor trees. So we're going to try and find the prime factors that make up 496. So prime numbers, I'm just going to list the first few. Prime numbers are going to be 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, that's the first few, or maybe even 13, but I doubt that we're going to need anything, or we usually don't need something bigger than that. Let's see, 2 will go in here since this is even. It would be 2 times 248, so here's a prime number. 2 will go into here since this is even, so it'll be 2 times 124. Here's a prime number. We'll circle the prime numbers when we come to them. This is even, so 2 goes into there, it goes into there, let's see, 62 times. This is even, and so 2 goes into there 31 times. Here's a prime number, and 31 is prime also, so turns out we did need one bigger than that. Basically what we're saying is 496 is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, 2 times 2 times 2 times 31. And we're supposed to simplify the square root of that. So when we have the square root of something, we're asking ourselves, what did we square to get this number? Well, here's 2 times 2. That means we squared 2 that time, right? So we can circle groups of 2. We squared 2. And here's another 2 times 2. We got the same factor written twice. That means, yet again, we squared 2 to get that. But we still have left this 31, and there's not another 31 in there. So what we're saying is we could simplify this square root of 496 by turning that into, let me bring this up just a little bit, square root of 496 is the same thing as 2 times 2, here's this one, times the square root of 31. When I was able to circle a pair of factors, then they come out. And here's another pair. They come out. I multiply them together on the outside. What I wasn't able to bring out stays on the inside of my radical. And so basically, square root of 496 is the same thing as 4 times the square root of 31. Well, we need to rewrite this up here. 20 plus or minus 4 times the square root of 31 over 12. And the reason we need to rewrite that is, remember, in math we always want to simplify things and write them in the simplest way possible. Well, I have 2 terms in the top in my numerator, 1 term in my denominator, and if there's a number that goes into each one of these terms, and there is, then we need to factor that out and cancel. Well, 4 goes into 20, 4 goes into 4 times square root of 31, and 4 goes into 12. So we need to factor out a 4 from this, from our numerator. So 4 times what gives us 20? Well, it'll be 4 times 5. And now we'll put our plus or minus symbol in there. 4 times what do I write here that gives me the 4 square root of 31? Well, square root of 31 is what I multiply by 4 to get 4 square root of 31. And that's all over 12. But remember, we said 12 is the same thing as 4 times something. 4 times what? 4 times 3. So now, when I have a fraction, if I have factors that are the same factor in the numerator and the denominator, I can cancel those. So I'm going to cancel my 4 over 4. Basically, what I have, and so I'm going to end up with 5 plus or minus the square root of 31 over 3. Now, I am okay with you putting your answer this way. When you're working problems on My Math Lab, I don't think, or in the past they didn't have a symbol for plus or minus on there, and so you had to write this as 2 separate answers, because remember, this plus or minus symbol tells us there are 2 different answers. The answer we get when we use the plus, so 5 plus square root of 31 over 3, and the other answer is the answer we get when we use the minus, so we would have 5 minus square root of 31 over 3, and then we use braces to hold on to the set of answers that make it true. So this is how you would need to show that on My Math Lab, on your comp exam and on your homework, on your test and problems, things that you turn into me. I'm okay with you showing it this way as long as you understand this represents 2 different answers.